I'd spent an entire year studying for the LSAT, and most of it was a complete waste of time. But I'd done every single prep test ever released and brought my scores from the low 150s to the high 170s using a technique that later became known as the Socratic review method. But this video isn't about that. It's about how I did something stupid that nearly destroyed my chances of getting that 175 I ultimately got on LSAT test day. This was back when the LSAT was offered in person. It was 5 sections, and it was done only on paper at law schools and high schools and colleges around the country. So I woke up in the morning. It was offered on a Saturday at about 9 a.m. I woke up around 6 a.m. because I was nervous and I wanted to get to the test center as early as possible. And the subways in New York City don't run that frequently on weekends, or especially not weekend mornings. So I woke up around 6 and I thought to myself, what do I want to eat day of? Well, I hear that protein is brain power, it's brain food. I'm going to eat a ton of protein so that I'm at my sharpest during the test itself. So I go into the kitchen and I think to myself, what protein do I have? I had cans of tuna fish because I wasn't big on cooking. So I got a bagel out of the freezer, I toasted it, and I put an entire can of tuna fish onto that bagel. I'm not really one of those people who's all about how food tastes. At least I wasn't at the time. I was more about just functionality, get it done, get as much protein into my body as possible. And I don't know about you, but my stomach, turns out, was not really well equipped to handle being assaulted by an entire bagel and an entire can of tuna fish with no mayonnaise, no nothing on it. And so I ate the entire thing in one sitting. And about 10 minutes later, I was feeling kind of unsettled, and I ended up throwing the whole thing up the morning of the LSAT. From going on an empty stomach to a bagel with a tuna fish, I just vomited up the entire thing, and I was feeling kind of iffy after that. So the show had to go on. I could not say, forget it, I'm not taking the LSAT after all that work I'd put into it. And back then, the LSAT was offered only 4 times a year. So I was going to have to wait another 3 months for another shot at the LSAT. And I don't know about you, but after putting in all that work, taking all those practice tests, getting myself all revved up for the big day, I couldn't say forget about it. So I went forward. I got myself some coffee. I walked down to the subway. I passed by a fruit stand on the street, and so I just grabbed a banana and headed down on the subway. Went down to the test center, lined up with everybody else. Feeling nervous, of course, didn't really want to talk to anybody else waiting for the exam either, because that only stresses you out. But I walked in there, and you know what? It went great. I didn't have any issues. Things went smoothly. Maybe it turns out that being on an empty stomach is better than being on a full stomach. Since then, I've adopted intermittent fasting, and I find that I do my best thinking before I've eaten for the day. I'm a little bit sharper when I'm a little bit hungrier. And so I went through the exam, smooth sailing. I got my score back about 3 weeks later, and turned out, lo and behold, I got my 175. Now, my practice test scores have been around 177, 178, so that was a drop of a few points. But you know what? A 175 ain't bad either, and I'll take it, especially given the circumstances. So if there were any takeaways I would get from this that I could pass on to you, it's, of course, don't eat a bagel with a full can of tuna fish the morning of your test, especially not at 6 in the morning, and not if you've never done that before. So when you're taking your practice tests, make everything about them as realistic as possible. Coffee, no coffee, full stomach, empty stomach, time of day. You want to replicate every single detail of the exam down to the letter so that test day itself goes as smoothly as possible and feels like just another practice run. Choreograph everything down to the most minute detail, because you never know what will affect you. And of course, it's not just about the day of, it's about all the days leading up to the day of. And so you want to make sure that your study plan is laid out in exact detail all the way from test day back through to today, or whenever your LSAT prep begins. And if you'd like my help in crafting your day-by-day study plan to help you rock test day itself and everything in between, there are a variety of ways I could support you. We offer day-by-day study plans as part of the LSAT Unplugged prep course to all of our students. And of course, I give you even more personalized in-depth study plans if you are working with me for an intensive one-on-one coaching program. So if you're interested, you can check out the links below the video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And if you found this video helpful, please do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to see it. I don't do any advertising for this channel. I rely only on word of mouth to help get the word out, and your sharing this video really does make a difference. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.